good afternoon, good morning-ish still. We're on Eastern time. Welcome to our Getting Started on Viva Amplify session. Excited to have you here today. Kind of a victory lap. If you've made it to the Getting Started in Viva Amplify session, you've likely seen a lot of communication content so far this week already. So some of this might be a little bit of review, but we are going to treat this like a 101 session. We're going to have a little bit of setup. We're going to have a bunch of product demos. But before we get started with that, my name is Michael Holste. I am on the marketing team for Microsoft Viva, focusing on Viva Amplify, Viva Connections, and Viva Engage, or what we call the Communications and Communities SKU. And I am joined on stage by my lovely co-presenters.
Naomi Moneypenny, for the folks I haven't met yet, yes, it is my real name, because I often get questions about that, and so it's important to clarify up front. But really happy to be here, excited to be able to show you a whole bunch of demos as part of this too, so we're going to go deep into the Viva Amplify product, which I know Pearl is excited about, but we're going to go through these two. I lead product development for Viva Amplify, as well as parts of the SharePoint Premium area, so happy to have lots of questions as well about this too, and the amazing Britt.
Yes, and I'm Britt Boston, and I am a product manager on Naomi's Viva Amplify team.
So as we said, we're going to do a little bit of overview. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the dirty licensing stuff here, but we want to make sure that you have all the information and access details that you need to really implement Viva Amplify at your organization. Then we're going to go into product, and from there we'll take product probably all the way into the end in questions. So hopefully this is going to be exciting for all of you. Where and why are we talking about the communication space so much at an IT event? We have a whole transformation track that's really, really dedicated to driving a lot of value for communicators. Part of this is because communications is an essential part of change management, but we have a lot of research that shows that one of the number one skills agreed on by both business decision makers and by the employees, kind of the rank and file information workers like myself at an organization, is that communication is one of the most critical skills for the success of an organization. No matter what you're doing, if a tree falls in the forest and you cannot communicate why that matters to your company, they won't be able to drive the business outcomes and alignment that you need to be successful. And right now, we're at this critical time in tech history, as you've heard. We're in the age of co-pilots, the rapid adoption of AI. The amount of change that organizations are being asked to undertake right now is really, really unprecedented. And with that amount of change comes a huge amount of risk. So being able to change really, really quickly and being able to get that new message or that new strategy permeated through all aspects of the organization is going to be critical to actually having your business meet the ROI needs that this new AI generation is going to demand. So if you were in our session earlier, if you're in Naomi's session earlier this morning, you likely saw this slide as well. But despite the agreement that communication is so critical and the kind of ubiquity of how everyone needs to be a communicator for their own projects and in their own world, we still do have a lot of challenges that we face here. There's a lot of uncertainty around what this change means for an organization. There's a lot of uncertainty about, are we communicating in the right places? And then there's uncertainty about, is this wasted effort? When we run these campaigns and we spend all this time and all the people hours of working with execs and managing their communication teams and being on brand, are these actually being read by people? Are they being read, and are they being actually understood where they're being read? And how do we measure and understand that reach and that impact that we're making? And then, of course, right now, communicators are being asked to be the tip of the spear for that change. Both understanding the role that AI will play in their organization and allaying some of the fears of what it could lead to within their organization is falling pretty often on the shoulders of communicators. Whether those communicators sit in the IT department or if they sit in the executive office, they are being asked to really take on a lot of the effort here, and we want to make sure that they're successful, and we actually have built in some features within Viva Amplify to help them manage and transform. And then, of course, that ties really nicely into point 6 here, which is the rise of AI. And of course, this has been on the tip of everyone's tongues, but we want to make sure that you have the tools and confidence that you need to understand your role in this transformation process. All right, and a couple things that have changed here over the past couple of years, and this is when we talk with our customers and when we talk with our product teams, how we view this product being built and where we view communications where it's going is comms plays a critical role in delivering culture at scale for an organization. They are these change managers, but they also need to meet the expectations of a really changing workforce, of a younger workforce, or a workforce that's attention is getting shorter and shorter. So we need modern tools and we need modern analytics to help us understand where and how we should be engaging and help us iterate for our next campaigns. And we need the tools to be able to collaborate on campaigns before they're sent, to be able to approve them before they're sent, to be able to work together in that workflow process. And all of this is, I think, really a core tenet of how we're building Viva Amplify as a new tool for communicators in mind, even if you're just communicating your own work. Great, so this session is being recorded, and while many of you are now hopefully a little bit familiar with Viva Amplify, we do want to make sure that we're well grounded in what we're actually seeing here. Viva Amplify is a new app. It is the newest app within the Viva Communications and Communities area. It went GA or generally available worldwide in the first week of October, and it is built from the ground up with pro communications teams in mind. And it helps you do things like collaborate on a campaign, create a common place where people can share files and documents around this, create templates, leverage these templates for future iterations of the same campaign, set clear objectives or get help even understanding what those objectives are and sharing those out to the rest of the communication team stakeholders, being able to set up workflow publishing, being able to require approvals before communications are sent, being able to schedule and time bomb communications so they go out with the exact precision to the exact locations that you need, and being able to send multi-channel communications so that you don't have to do all of the redundant work of copying and pasting and reformatting for every channel. Viva Amplify will do that on your behalf, as well as stitch all of the communications in that campaign together so that you get one digestible, filterable, meaningful report that you can dive down into to see how your communications are performing on various channels to various audiences and different types of engagement that are happening around them, so you get a full 360 view of your communications campaign that you can back into your organization, as well as working on internally to ensure that you iterate for the next time. That's kind of a high level of it. We're gonna see a really deep down or a really deep demo of each feature here, how to run campaigns, some new templates we've built, and exactly how to explore the reporting. But before that, just a little bit more level setting. Who is this for? Hopefully, some of the roles here and some of the objectives of these roles here will resonate with people in the audience. But we really have a lot of people that we think of as communicators. And if we apply this to our own work life and our own work experience, of course, there's corporate communications teams who have really specialized, really precise, really thought out campaigns where, every keystroke, every mention, every person on the to list is thought out well in advance, and we can cascade these communications to provide more guidance or localize them for individual audiences or departments or geos as needed. As we move across, of course, business leaders and their comms teams, of course, use mass communications to communicate executive change, communicate strategy, share things like earnings reports that have to land at a very specific time. And then as we move further to your right of this slide, of course, this is where we all wear our communicator hat, whether it is highlighting projects that we've done, doing postmortems, even just drawing more visibility to the work that we're publishing, whether it's internal or external. So really, we think that Viva Amplify is a tool for anyone who wants to send campaigns, and that they need to understand the reach of what they're doing, as well as make it simple for them to set up and kind of auto-publish or get templates recommended, easier design of templating and everything, so they waste less time formatting and they can get their message out with ease. Now, what is it used for? These are just some of the many, many opportunities that you can use Viva Amplify for. Of course, newsletters, we have great out-of-the-box newsletter experiences. You can send and get it formatted automatically for you, whether you're in SharePoint, sending it to Viva Connections, sending it to Outlook, sending it to Engage coming soon. It will do the formatting for you here, as well as still giving you all those analytics. Product launches, this is a big one that we internally communicate, but they often have external links as well to PR and news or social posts that we ask people to re-amplify. Change management, this is a big one. We've touched on this a bit already. Earnings reports is one that we have been really, really targeting internally when we have communication that has to align with Wall Street. So we cannot share this before Wall Street has it. So, whether it's a quarterly earnings report or something, we want to make sure that that communication goes out at exactly the closing bell of the stock exchange to adhere to compliance standards. And we also need a timestamp to prove that we did not share that information early. And Amplify, of course, gives you that as well. We're also looking at some cool ways about verified content, being able to publish through these official channels where it will be sucked up into Copilot so that the responses, or when you prompt Copilot, it will pull from this knowing that it was an official source or that it came from an official team. But again, the opportunities here are really, really endless of what you would be communicating with. But see, some of these are the early use cases that we've seen a lot of success for our customers and at Microsoft. Now, I only have one more portion. I'll cover the boring portion, and I'll give it to you guys for the fun stuff. Viva Amplify is a premium offering. Of course, you have a seated experience of SharePoint News or sending emails in Outlook. But if you want this kind of supercharged, multi-person, multi-channel, multi-reporting service, then Amplify is a premium license. There are two ways to purchase it currently. One is through the Viva Suite, which gives you a whole variety of apps and services that focus on the employee experience and all kind of connect to each other through the Microsoft Graph. Or if you are really looking for a more specific comms solution and don't either have the bandwidth or the buy-in or the time or the interest right now in a broader Viva Suite adoption program, you can also get it through what we call the Communications and Communities SKU or product that is really designed specifically for you. And as you see, there is a $2 price point per year. If you contact your account team, that is a flexible price point. Cool. Of course, with this, you get all the premium stuff from Viva Engage as well. We had a session that was recorded earlier today. I would check that out if you're interested in the CNC product. We had a dedicated hour that we talked about everything you get in Viva Connections Premium, everything in Viva Engage Premium. Of course, all of Viva Amplify is premium and how these services work together to create one single offering. And we have I think we're going to show a roadmap for what we have. We're building a lot of value. Our CNC product is a place that's had a lot of center of gravity within our product teams and our marketing teams. So you're kind of getting in at the ground floor at the moment right now, but there's a lot of goodness coming. Now with that, I'm going to pass the clicker off.
All right, let's get into it. You ready to see some product? Yes? Good, good, good. All right, awesome, awesome. All right, I do need to clarify with you quickly some roles first. So what will you be doing in here? A couple of things that are most important from an administration perspective. You might have a SharePoint admin, you might have a groups admin, and then thinking through who has access to some of the early access program. And so we have some new preview features that are part of a preview program. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. And it's a really exciting place for you to be able to get the easiest way to access access our new features, give us tons and tons of feedback as well. And of course, we have these admin roles. Now, to get started with Viva Amplify, when you get your communications and community solution or you buy the Viva Suite, Amplify is on by default inside of your organization. So the cool thing is it's there. You don't have to go through all of these admin pieces unless you need to, but they are there if you want to. If you want to manage, for example, who can create campaigns inside of your organization, you're able to do that. And then you're also able to help manage, with those groups and who can use those there, as well as who has access to those early features too. All right, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to create and manage campaigns. We're going to look into how you can publish across lots of places and Teams and Outlook, SharePoint, and Engage. And then, of course, all of that gorgeous analytics that we have here too. So first off, when you get to Amplify, you access it here from the Viva app bar. So you can see connections, engage, etc. You'll go into our Getting Started page that has lots of great useful advice for you. And then you're going to help manage campaigns here. This is a list of all of the campaigns that you have. This should look a little bit familiar, but you can see here I've got an option to have create campaign. I can even filter by things like draft and archive, etc. But I can create a new campaign. In this case, we're going to do the benefits selection, and this is about open enrollment, if you're familiar with this process inside of the US. And then within this campaign, I can go ahead and add people. So I can add people as an owner, an editor, or an approver as part of this, and be able to have those be part of my campaign. Now, behind the scenes, miracles are happening, and we're creating that new campaign, and you'll be launched into this landing page. The campaign is basically just a folder, if you will, right? It's a way to group all of these communications together, and you can put some more structure in as part of that too. Now here you can see just a little bit on, here's some campaign templates that we've created, so I can actually customize and create my own templates as part of this, in addition to the ones that Microsoft has out of the box. For my campaign itself, I have objectives and key messages. This is an optional step, but it's really helpful for when you have a whole bunch of stakeholders and you want to make sure that those folks are aligned as well. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new publication. So in this case, my communication, you can see I've got a blank template. My blank template is basically lets me set up, I can make it beautiful, I can add rich images. This should look awfully familiar if you know SharePoint News, and that's very intentional to do that, right? We want to use that behavior that you already know how to do and are using inside of your organization already. And so in this case, I can obviously switch the focus of the image. I can add in sets of parts here. So I've got my text options, I can add in a stream video, all of those pieces coming in here as well. And I get some rich formatting as part of it. Now remember that campaign brief? We talked about the messages and the objectives. I get to show those directly here when I'm authoring this. It's so helpful to remember that stuff, right? When you have that briefing document, and I'm able to put it in here directly here. So I can put in the text that I need. Right now, I can also check out, where I want to publish this to. So in this case, I've got Engage, I've got Outlook, I've got SharePoint, I've got Teams. But my focus is on creating the content first, and then being able to optimize it for those different distribution channels afterwards. Now, I've stepped into a preview mode here. I'm helping to look at how this is going to look inside of Engage. Now, of course, these different endpoints, right, they all support different kinds of features. So for example, in Engage, the photos go at the bottom of the post, right? They're optimized for that view. You can see, instead of me having to do a bunch of copy pasting and a bunch of work here, I'm easily able to see how it's going to look in every single place. So I looked at Outlook, we looked at SharePoint, and now here it is inside of Teams as well. And so I can go ahead and I can see that all of that has been transformed for me automatically. And then I can even send things like a test message to myself to be able to check out and see how it's going to look. And so your focus here is on creating really rich content. And then I'm able to name the names of channels. You can see I can put 5 different Teams channels in here if I need to. And I'm able to use that there. I can also choose to send this as an announcement inside of Teams as well as a regular message. It makes it simple for me to do that. And so I can update it in this case for Teams announcements because it's got a little bit of a different formatting that's able to do that. So it makes it really simple to be able to put all of this together. Now, I'm going to take that same message. You can see it's optimized now for Teams. I'm going to go check it out in SharePoint. I'm able here to specify which sites I'm going to be able to publish to. So I can actually publish to multiple sites, and that's a really awesome way to be able to do this. I'm able to also specify, specific people inside of Outlook, where I could use my existing groups and distribution lists as part of this too. And then I can also send a copy to myself too, right? So I want to be able to see a test email, because we're always a little freaky, right? In corporate communications, we want to have a look at it first and make sure that I'm able to see that. And then inside of Engage, I know that shorter messages with images often are winning, right, in that format. And so I can actually trim down my message here and be able to make it simple for folks to be able to understand inside of Engage. And then I can preview that content directly here as well. And that's how it's going to show up. So I can see here, it's great to be able to see all of these test messages. I can check out quickly what I need to have. I can identify the storylines and the communities that I want to post my message to, and then I'm able to schedule that out to publish. And you'll see here, it's whirring away. It's going to go off and find these areas, but I can also optionally set in here approvers as part of this too. Those approvers can go through, they can check out the content. Again, it's a very simple format, but really important for when we need to do that. And then I can also decide whether that gets published automatically after they approved, or whether I've scheduled that to publish after they've approved. And so all of those pieces, those combinations can work as you need. And then I can even do things like, publishing on a specific time in this case, and making it easy for this too. Now, oftentimes people ask about, what about, publishing on behalf of a leader, for example? So that is also possible, and you can do that. And so you can use, if you have delegate permissions already set up, we can do that, for example, in Outlook, and same inside of SharePoint as well. So just a great way to be able to do that. Now, we've hit publish inside of Amplify, and you're like, yes, it's going out there right now. It's going out to my engaged communities. It's going out to my distribution lists in Outlook. It's going off to SharePoint and publishing in lots of different places. And so you can see here it is. This is what it looks like inside of Engage. It's transformed that content for me. It's published it into Engage. I can see here immediately there's, I'm putting lights and reactions in here and comments, and then we'll see all of that pop up as well as part of the analytics. And then over in SharePoint land, of course, we can see here, this is what the communication looks like in SharePoint. Looks like our SharePoint news. It's rolling up inside of, into the hub site, and then it'll go into Viva Connections as well if you're using that. And so we'll get that news will get published in there too. Again, looks beautiful inside of SharePoint, and I can have multiple sites if I need to. And then, of course, inside of Teams as well. So here's your message inside of Teams. Teams has, a little less formatting, but it's an announcement inside of Teams, and I can see that directly in my channel. It's all pretty cool, right? Yes? Yeah, I think it's cool. So get to see all of this goodness. And it just saves so much time, right? Because I didn't have to reformat it, right? It's doing it for me, doing all of that goodness directly in here. So I can check out all of these messages, and then folks are able to react as part of that too. And so you'll see in here as we go through, right, all these different details, I can start going and getting, publication details straight away from an analytics perspective. And you'll see here, we've got a bunch of things that help you, right? So seeing where people consumed it is really powerful. Are they actually looking at things in Engage? Are they looking at things inside of SharePoint? I can actually do some audience breakdowns here as well. So I can check out the distribution channels. I can see how many times people have promoted it. So if they shared it or forwarded it, I would see all of those pieces coming together. And so this is always available to me as part of my campaign. I'm able to see the reporting across the entire campaign or within a specific publication. And you'll see that, we very easily made it easy for you to see all of those pieces coming together. And so over time, you have the idea of how many viewers there are, the kinds of promotions that you've had across your entire campaign. And then even within the publications themselves, you have a little card that helps to explain that as well. So lots of goodness as part of all of this. It's a pretty amazing way to be able to put all these communications together to help you to put it together inside of that campaign and then use the templates that you need as part of this too. All right, so that was my quick product walkthrough on that. Hopefully that gives you a step-by-step on how we're going to use these different areas. And what I wanted to do next is to show you just a little bit about the preview and upcoming features. So good so far? Yes? Okay, good. Tracking with me? Just checking. Thank you. And so I wanted to show you some cool new things. So now you've got all of that and you're like, that's awesome. But what comes next, right? You need to know that too. And so we want to show you a little bit about that too. And so for that, I'm going to invite Britt to talk a little bit about Copilot deployment first, and then we're going to go through all of those upcoming features.
All right, in preview. One of the new features, actually this is currently in preview, but will be, I think, generally available later this month, is the Copilot Deployment Kit. And so what we've done is we've taken all this great content that is out on adoption.microsoft.com, content that is based on Microsoft's internal deployment of Copilot, as well as feedback and content that our early adopters in the Copilot Early Adopter Program gave us guidance on. And we've put that all together and created a pre-built campaign in Viva Amplify for you. So it's really designed to help you to transform your organization, get people going on Copilot. So let's look a little bit more at what is entailed. So in this pre-built campaign, there are 8 pre-drafted communications. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And again, as Naomi said, you can send these communications out through Outlook, SharePoint, and Teams. Let's get a little look at what that looks like. Okay, so you might be thinking, awesome, I would love this pre-built campaign. Where do I get it? So you'll notice at the top of this slide or this page is this new banner, and it says, hey, are you ready to deploy Copilot for your organization? You can just click the button and get the campaign. By clicking that button, it puts you in the standard campaign creation flow where you can update the title, the description, and then you can select the language that you want, just like you do for Amplify. There's 51 languages that you can choose from, and we will create all that content for you in that language. And then you can also add your members, etc., just like normal. Oh, Naomi's doing the demo as I go. That's amazing. Okay, so then the little spinner thing comes up, and it takes us, probably usually about 30 seconds to actually create that campaign on the back end. We've got a lot of stuff to put together there. But once that's done, you land on this campaign page, and you'll see that these publications already exist there. We'll look at those in a minute. But if you go up to the campaign brief tab, you'll see that we've also already pre-drafted the campaign brief for you. So it talks about the purpose of the campaign. It gives you the objectives of the campaign, the key messages that are being communicated in all these communications, as well as kind of an overview of the 8 weekly communications, what's in each one, etc. Of course, you can edit and update this to suit your organization's needs, but we're pre-populating that for you just to give you a big head start. So then if you go to the Publications tab, we can look at all those 8 publications. We've given you a little hint, an indicator in each of the titles to, again, remind you of when the recommendation is to send out these communications. Of course, you might want to delete that before you send it, but of course you can edit it. So you'll see there, week 0, week 1, etc. There's a communication that's designed to help get folks ready for Copilot. Then there's a launch communication. Then there are 5 app-specific communications. So what can you do to use Copilot in Teams, in Outlook, in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. Very practical things. We'll look at that in just a minute. And then the last one is how to use Copilot to solve some complex work problems. So it's a little bit more focused on kind of a use case like, how do I get caught up on meetings that I missed or things like that. So if we go into one of them, like the last one maybe, okay, then you'll see kind of what each of these communications consists of. So most of them have a short little video at the top, which is great, engaging content. And then it's followed by what I call snackable sets of information. So again, really practical, actionable information with Copilot prompts that the employees can try. So very useful information. And then at the bottom is some more resources. So like there's links to the Copilot Lab and you can and some other resources. Mm-hmm. Now you'll notice in some of these, especially like the very first 1 or 2, that there's some red text. So I want you to be aware of that, where we've said, hey, there's a note to author, add your link to your internal SharePoint site where maybe you've got additional learning resources or a link to the help desk. Of course, you're going to want to link to your Engage community for Copilot. To help people engage there as well. So there's some places within the communications that are kind of those places that you can update and edit. And then if you go back to the main campaign page, that campaign will exist as a campaign card, just like all your other campaigns. So it'll be there for your other members of your campaign to access and edit and collaborate on. Mm-hmm. And then of course the reporting is awesome, because you can see across how effective those communications are. And if there's maybe one that people aren't responding to, or a certain geo, if you've got your organizational data in there, they're not responding to or engaging with, you can resend that out later. So anyway, hopefully this will save you a lot of time. It's kind of tested content and consistent with what you can find out on adoption.microsoft.com, but we're trying to make it easy for you by building it out of the box in Amplify.
Yay.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you. Yay. Thank you, Britt. So let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next as well for Amplify. As we said, we're a pretty young product, but we're getting lots of amazing feedback from customers like yourselves. We're iterating and improving the product with that too. And we definitely appreciate as you think about needs and like, oh, I need to be able to do this in my company, please do let us know. So as we said, we've got multiple distribution channels. That's the cool thing, right? We get to start off with Teams channels. We've got SharePoint and all the news goodness that you have there, Outlook, and now Engage storylines and communities are in preview this month. And then there is a bunch of things coming here, so I'm going to talk through that. Frontline workers. Who has frontline workers in their organizations? Couple folks? Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow, okay. That's a lot for this audience, so that's amazing to see, and we'll talk through that. And then group chats, and then, of course, all of the goodness in Viva Connections, too. So one of the big areas for us coming up is, looking at these frontline worker pieces. And so you might have seen Viva Connections has a new capability called announcements that helps you to target your frontline workers. It's able to use a dynamic targeting service there to help identify these different areas. And so in this case, you can see that I can look at my worker populations, in this case by store or by region or by area, and I can even look within their role as well. And so if I want to be able to target announcements out to these folks, I'm able to do that from Amplify. It makes it easy for us to say, hey, you as a frontline manager, you're empowered to send communications to your store or your region, your area, and make it simple for folks to be able to do that. They get all of that power, and it comes directly there through Amplify too. Now, the other big thing that we ask about and get a lot of customers asking for is this publishing to individual chats. And so it's one of those things where maybe you're using Teams channels, but some people are not using Teams channels exactly as designed. And so a lot of things are just still happening inside of group chats and with individuals. And so we want to make it easy not only for you to post in there as group chats, but sometimes you want to act as an agent, right? If you want a bot, basically, that's coming in, maybe it's having your change communications are getting sent out. So that's another big area for us to be doing here. And so we're able to, in this case, identify who I'm posting as. So I could be a bot or a human in this case, but I'm going to post as a bot. And then I'm able to obviously identify who I want to go out to, whether it's a group chat that's already established or a bunch of individuals in there. And so it makes it easy, again, to target that communication too. Now, I mentioned earlier, of course, Engage is a big area for us, but communities and storylines are the things that we're starting off with. These are the most common use cases that we hear from our customers. It's the ability either to post as a leader, that's generally what storylines get used for a lot in Amplify communications, and then the communities themselves. And so making sure that you're able to get that. That is something that's going into private preview, as I said, this month, so also very closely to being available here too. And of course, you're going to get all of that rich analytics. You saw that briefly too, right? We're going to have lots of goodness there, so you'll be able to tell how people are actually consuming this information across all of there as well. Now, I mentioned campaigns. Campaigns are a big thing. It's really an interesting side of how people are using them. If you're a corporate communications professional and I say campaigns, you're like, yeah, I totally know what this is, right? I understand that. Britt showed earlier, we've got the brief, we've got the objectives, we've got the key messages. But if you're just a normal person like myself, who just sends like monthly updates on, here's our product status and what my project is doing, a campaign is also useful for me. And that's because I want to invite multiple people into my team and make sure that I'm able to collaborate with them. And so having those objectives and messages is very useful for me too, but it's also just a great way to be able to componentize and put all of those things together inside of one particular area. So I can take all of those communications, they're all inside of one campaign, and make it simple for me to see how things have progressed over time, did my increase of my audience, etc. And so one of the areas that we're improving here is to actually have targets on your campaigns as a part part of that. Those campaign targets I can set up here, whether I want to get to unique viewers, how many people I need to be sharing and forwarding, what kinds of actions they want to take as part of this too. And so those campaign targets help me to drive the results I'm looking for. Again, we're trying to make you send the least amount of communications for the most effective reach or goal. And so making sure that those objectives are hit is a great way to outline what is it I'm trying to get done with all these communications and make sure that I have targets here too. So you can see in this case, we'll even include that now into the analytics page. So once you've actually reached your campaigns, you will get a little celebration on there too. And so it's cool to be able to see this, right? Because it helps us to say, you know, here was my measure. This is what I was trying to get to. How much progress have I made towards that measure, and tracking that over time. So maybe you're sending out weekly communications, as Britt showed, or maybe you're sending things out on a sort of drip campaign over months, right? You want to make sure that you're hitting those goals that you originally aligned you for as well. And so it makes it very simple here to establish that. And I think this is such an important part of what we're doing, right? Of like, how do you measure the effectiveness of those campaigns going forwards too? Now, of course, we always have to talk about analytics. Everybody loves analytics, right? Yes, you're all like, I want to see how people are consuming my message. It's great that you do all this automatic formatting and everything else, but I really, really just want to see all the analytics because I spent all my heart and soul crafting my communications, but I want to see how those people are actually reacting to them too. And so we're doing a whole bunch of updates on to what we're doing with analytics. And so I wanted to just show just a couple of highlights in here. Of course, I put across the top here, you've got that campaign reach and engagement. And so you see this as a campaign wrap-up, if you will. And so in this case, we're increasing this to be able to show how people are viewing things over time. So hopefully that's, you know, up and to the left on those graphs kind of things, or up and to the right on your case, and on these graphs here. But I can also be able to break down specifically in these different audiences too. And so I want to be able to see like which of these distribution lists that I'm sending to are actually very effective, which of the Teams channels are getting the most response as part of that too. But I also want to check out like the reactions on these pieces. So are people actually hearting or loving these particular posts and communications that are going out, and are able to wrap that together? It seems very simple, right? But we want to make sure that you can see that across modes, because you know, you can heart a message in Outlook, right? You can heart a message in Engage. You can heart a message in Teams. That's great. But then there's also a set of emojis that are out there. You're like, well, I'm not exactly sure what that means. And so one of our folks on our team, one of his favorite reactions is the broccoli one. Anybody use the broccoli emoji ever? No, but there is a broccoli emoji. So should you ever wish to use broccoli as being, you know, I don't know, eat your greens week or something for a communications campaign, the broccoli emoji is available to your folks, and you will be able to count how many reactions got the broccoli emoji as part of it too. But it's a really great way, again, to be able to see that. And so if you're creative, you want to use communications in a different way, you want to inspire people to use different kinds of reactions, it's a great way to be able to do that, and we'll be able to count all of those pieces coming together as well. Now, let's talk about, you know, going into a specific publication. So that was the campaign wrap-up. I'm going to talk a little bit about in a publication. So I sent out one of my communications. I'm able to easily see now all of those trend graphs. I can see the click-through rate, so what links did people click on inside of there too. How much time did they spend, you know, reading this information? So if my dwell time is very low and people are spending 10 seconds or 30 seconds, then it tells you how to fine-tune your message in the future, right? It's like, okay, shorter form communication or what is required in here. Obviously, we'll be able to do the same thing there with video. So when you have a video that's embedded in here too, you'll be able to see in the stream analytics to see how long people were actually consuming that content too. It's a really helpful way. And then, of course, we're doing a bunch of awesome things here with organizational hierarchy. There is a service inside of Viva. It's called the Modus service. And that service enables you to use organizational data to populate a lot of these queries and these pivots, essentially, in your analytics. It's easy for you to set that up, and it works across multiple different services. So if you're using Entra, for example, as your Azure Active Directory, as it used to be called, you can have all of those layers mapped out. But if you're also using another HRIS system, maybe you're using something else right in there, Workday, for example, if you're using that, you're able to use that organizational data as well to help pivot as well. So you can do that. And then if you're using something completely different and you don't want to set that service up, you can even upload a CSV basically of all of those cuts or those pivots, and then we'll be able to use that inside of Amplify as well. So it's just a really great way to be able to do that too. Now, already inside of our analytics in Amplify, you can actually download a CSV copy of this. So oftentimes people are like, oh, I want to combine this into some other magical spreadsheet that I have as a communicator. You can already download that as well. But we're going to make it even simpler for you to do kind of multi-value queries, basically, which is a nice way to say, hey, I want to have it pivoted by like 3 different things at once. I'll be able to do that too inside of Amplify. So lots and lots of goodness too. And then, of course, we're making improvements to how you actually craft these communications to start off with. So we have beautiful, durable communications. So specifically in SharePoint News, we have some great new capabilities you might have heard about this week. So we're going to make pages even more beautiful, news even more beautiful. You can have backgrounds that are spanning across the page. You can have animated backgrounds. You can do all kinds of section templates. So if you want to create sections within a particular document, or within a particular news, I should say, you can have section templates that lay out there, make it easy for you to do that information. So you get a lot of beautiful ways to craft engaging content directly in here and make a durable copy of those communications as well. Now, of course, we had to say Copilot just one more time, don't we? So within this too. So within, and of course, with Amplify, we want to bring you a great way to author all of your communications. And so the first thing that we're starting with is really to help you to redraft communications directly in there. So oftentimes you might have a bit of mental block, or you're like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right, or I need to change the sentiment of this. I want to change the tone of how I'm writing this. With this, you'll be able to basically select quickly inside of that particular draft that you have, and then say, hey, Copilot, help me just redraft this, help me rewrite this for me, and makes it really simple. It's a great way to get started with Copilot. It's not intimidating to any of our corporate communicators out there, right? It's just helping you and suggesting a different draft, and you can see more and more capabilities that we will come up with over time too. So lots and lots of goodness. So exciting, good. Yes? Yay! Okay, thank you. I just want to check, there's like lots of goodness here, and we definitely want to have more and more of your ideas as well. Now, I spoke a little bit about earlier kind of our vision piece of this, and I'm going to show a little bit more of the roadmap and then some of the adoption resources that we have too. But I just wanted to mention this while I'm here, because when we think about the longer term vision for what we're doing with Amplify, is really thinking about how you can amplify from anywhere, right? We want to think about all the places that you already draft communications. So you might start off in the tool of choice. In this case, I have a vision image here that helps us to say, maybe I start in Word, right? Because I love crafting my communications in Word. And I want to be able to take that communication and then just say, hey, I want to orchestrate this thing from anywhere that I am. And so, I can go off and publish here, I can get my analytics, and I can think about the workflow that's associated with this too. So makes it easy and simple for folks to do that. And then, of course, we want to think about how we're streamlining all of that authoring across all these pieces, whether it's with AI assistance and using effectively the rest of the Office suite as well. And then, of course, we want to understand the analytics, like rich understanding of how the publication is being used, how it's being distributed, and how people are consuming it. And so even more goodness coming with all of that too. Now, here, of course, is the roadmap slide. I know I'm waiting for all the cameras to come out. So it's all good. So but we'll have all the pictures here. All the goodness that we are delivering, as I mentioned, there's a whole bunch of things. You can see what we've shipped already, things like audience targeting inside of SharePoint, localization with over 50 languages in there, and then things like, recently modified templates. Those areas have already shipped. And then lots of goodness coming, both in this month and the next month. And then you can see a lot of our roadmap for the rest of the calendar year. Like I said, we are always taking input in from our customers, so we so much value your input, and please let us know what we can do more inside of the product. Now, we're going to cover off on and finishing out on this, making sure you have the right resources to take the next steps with your Amplify journey. So here are some awesome URLs to go visit. If you're looking for adoption resources around the product, we have a ton in here as well. It's a really great place. You can see campaign catalogs as well that we have here, as well as adoption advice more generally. And you can also check out how all of these different areas are working together, as well as an adoption guide and playbook here as too. You can also have a Viva Amplify free trial. As we mentioned, the thing is we do have a premium license associated with the communications and communities offering. And so we wanted to make sure that it's easy for you to do that. You can take a quick trial of it here too. And then you can see here, for example, the campaign catalog that's available to you. Make it easy, again, for adoption to get driven here as well. And so that's all I have on these areas. As a customer, you can obviously join our corporate communications community. You can do that. It's in the tech community, so it is open to other people in your organization. Please invite them in. We'd love to have them there. We have monthly calls as well as online discussions about different areas in corporate communications, and we love to be able to connect and meet with people there. So that's all goodness there. QR code, feel free to use it as you wish. And then making sure, of course, that we are connected with our customers. So if you are a Microsoft Viva customer, give me a hand up if you are already. Okay. You should all be in the Customer Connection Program. Are you in the Customer Connection Program? Crickets, maybe, kind of, sort of, 2 people over here, overachieving, awesome. So make sure that you do this, right? Please do come into the Viva Customer Connection Program. We have monthly calls. We tell you about roadmaps. Every product team gets on that call and tells you lots of goodness about what's happening across the 9+ applications you have access to in Viva Suite. And so we'd love to have you join us on a regular basis in those calls. And then we have our special little neighborhood, if you will, just for Amplify customers too, where you get access to these early features too as we put them into preview. So lots and lots of goodness there. So please do join up for that. We'd really, really appreciate it. So that is all the content we have for you. You made it through in the cold room, in the dark. I am so impressed. Thank you, folks. You are awesome. You are awesome. It's all good. And so we're happy to take any questions about if you want to run to lunch. I will totally understand that as well. But thank you.
I love Amplify. I think it's really going to change the way that we're able to communicate, that you have that omni-channel strategy. But one of the challenges that I still see people having is time, right? Because we could be over inundated with different communications and these could be lost. So any thoughts about how this in the future might integrate with calendaring or to-do or a communications feed from a personal perspective so that if I see something, I can flag it and actually carve out the time. If something's on my calendar, it's going to get that dedicated time to actually pay attention to it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's a great input as well. I would totally take that as well. So I hear Sarah in the back of my mind already saying that. So the question was really, around, how do we think about scheduling time for you as an author to actually create things? And so, it could be. Yeah, and the recipients to read it out too. So these are good inputs. It's something we want to look at both from an editorial calendar, from a planning perspective of like how people are sending out communications, so you're not getting bombarded with stuff on the same day, which is oftentimes where you miss something. But then we also want to think about, are you having time to draft and to carve out and catch up on all those notifications? And so it's definitely good stuff. The big thing there, I think also Copilot will help, right? From that perspective, it can help you to catch up on things that are most important and then flag it maybe at a time when maybe you have time on Friday afternoon, right, to catch up with the organizational announcements and that kind of thing too. So good input. Thank you. Please.
Hi. Can we publish the campaigns multi-tenant?
Yeah, so it's a great question too. So there's something we're working on. I think I had it on the roadmap slide there as well. So multi-tenant is something that's coming. It's obviously supported right now inside of Engage and Connections. And so we want to bring it to Amplify as soon as we can too. Okay. So it's not there yet, but we're going to work on it. So.
Okay. And then I guess my second question is around licensing. So the CNC license, is that for all of the end users or just for the folks who are doing the publishing?
Yeah, so it's for everyone because it's for everyone who's going to be touched by these communications. And that's because it includes Engage in there as well as Connections. So it's not just Amplify by itself, right? We have Engage, Connections, and Amplify in that CNC solution. Okay. And so when you're licensing that, whether you're being a poster or recipient in a leadership community or involved in an AMA, everyone in there requires a license.
Okay, perfect. So, thank you.
Sure, my pleasure. Any other questions?
Hi, we're a partner, and
Hello.
we do a lot of migrations and onboarding things. And so you had the Copilot example.
Yeah.
Are you guys building any templates around, say, an Intune enablement as far as rolling things out, or maybe it's a migration?
Yeah.
Because we do migration communications for our customers, but I could see this working for that too.
Yeah, it's a great point. So I'll let Britt take that since Britt is
we are planning to do another pre-built campaign for Viva, for all the Viva apps. And then we are trying to figure out like how do we create other just templates that are available or what comes next after that. So that's helpful to know that migration is a really key key source. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's great. And then the ideal situation is that you as a partner, right, would be able to create your own campaign template. So we totally see that. Yes. I love it. Yes. Exactly. Adoption should be right in sync with the application rolling out, right? As opposed to like an afterthought and, oh, now people are not using it. Why aren't they? Now I should send a communication. So yeah, we're right with you
Exactly.
on that one. Yeah.
Exactly.
Great.
Is there
I think
another
Pankaj had his
question
hand
over
up.
here? Yes.
I think so. Sorry. Not to point you out.
Thank you.
Hi.
Maybe building upon her question, I also wanted to check on the licensing. But just
Yeah.
building upon, let's say if I were to publish it and the user does not have the license, what's the experience? They don't get it, see it?
Yeah, they will get the communication. Let me put the licensing slide back up.
Yeah, so if you send a communication to an unlicensed user, depending on where that communication is going to be consumed, there could be license checks that would prevent them from seeing it. There also could be considerations around, if it is a premium engaged feature, will it land in the leadership corner area, or will it be captured in analytics? Or when things like MTO are built into the product, will you be able to capture analytics across tenant boundaries as well? So it won't necessarily break the system, but you won't be able to have visibility into who might not be getting the message, and you wouldn't have any analytics to prove who might or might not be. So you're kind of putting it into a little bit of a black box where you might send something assuming that it's going to, especially if it's a critical or urgent communication, assuming it's going to get to people that it might not get to. But currently where the license checks are primarily in the premium spaces, of course. If you send it, it may go where you hope it does, but we can't prove it, if that makes sense.
Thank you. And the follow-up was on the reporting as you are tracking the reactions and so many other things.
Yeah.
So let's say if you have Viva Engage or maybe even news, you have comments after that. So I didn't see anything specifically to, once it has been published, other than reaction, if you have comments to bring it again to the same campaign page and then maybe, I guess, do something about it.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. So right now what we're doing on this first set of analytics is to just aggregate those comments together so you can see how many comments you got in total across all the places that you were. So yeah, right now you're correct. Like if I see I have 12 comments across SharePoint and Engage and Teams, I have to go there individually and look at them, right? But we do absolutely want to bring more and more richness to that so we can bring it back into Amplify and say, hey, you might want a suggested response to these comments and help you to manage that. But we also want to think about how we help to recommend in the future based on your feedback that you had before in the previous communication. You might want to update this kind of language or something else to make more clarity there as well. So yeah, definitely great.
And as a stopgap in between there, once the Engage integration goes online, if you send it into Engage and you're a Viva CNC customer, you do get rich analytics. Like you could go natively into Viva Engage and still get those advanced analytics where we do sentiment analysis and theme analysis on communications. So you could still see it there. And then in time, of course, we'll be trying to bring it into Amplify.
Yeah, awesome.
And just to add to that, with the analytics, it looked like it goes back 12 months. Is that as far as you go back?
Yeah, so far, because the product right now is only 6 months old. So,
Right. But moving forward, as you're doing campaigns for a couple of years, the data will go away after 12 months.
Yeah. That's a great point. I'm curious, like how long would you want those analytics to be around for? Like the entire life? Is it 5 years or whatever? But a year or?
I've done lifetime. I mean, I would take 3 years.
Okay.
And be happy with that. But
yeah, super helpful feedback for us too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Another
Oh,
question.
you mentioned editorial calendar.
Yes.
At the moment, that's the biggest roadblock we have for our folks getting into Amplify because they can't visualize what are a lot of communications, tiered communications. So I don't know if you have the ability to expand on that, when that might be coming, or if there's any suggestion, whether it be via Power Automate or any other kind of way that folks can put the information into Amplify and turn around and visualize it somewhere else. And not just for their internal team, but they also have a need to be able to publish it to the company so that the company can figure out when they want to get their own communications onto the calendar, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's something. Editorial calendar is a big set of asks, but it's also a very complex process, as you might imagine, for all the reasons you just outlined. So that was great. So, but exactly that issue. So we want to look at how campaigns are going across each other, where they're being distributed, and then making sure that we can actually understand that publishing cadence of like, are we overwhelming people in one particular area, or are we looking at this distribution channel too much, or those kinds of things. And so we want to balance that out and give you some controls there. In order to do that, we have to have a campaign view, and we have to work through a lot of the permissioning pieces right now, because right now your campaigns are set up. You already determine the authors and the owners of those campaigns, but we don't have this campaign manager type of view where somebody could have a view across every single campaign. So that's the piece that we're looking at right now, because it's tricky, right? It's a tricky situation for all of those reasons. And so we want to make sure we have the right balance of privacy around your campaigns versus here's things that corporate communications is sending out and wants to do on a more coordinated basis. So yeah, working on it, thinking about it. Yeah, definitely there. Thank you. I think there was another. Sorry, Britt, you have to. Oh, is there another question? I'm so sorry. Wow, lots of questions, y'all. I love it. I love it. Great. So, sorry. We have the motivated folks. I love it. These are the folks.
So, like the gentleman in green, I'm also a partner. So that's one of the reasons I asked about NTO and was interested in if there would be a solution that a partner might be able to apply with when we're doing migrations for our CSP customers.
Yeah.
For communication purposes. So just wanted to add that as feedback.
I love it. I love it.
And then question, if MTO isn't in the later in 2024, is it?
It's just not promising. We're not saying a public disclosure on that. How's that? Okay. That's the reason. These are the things I'm certain of versus things we're working on. Right?
Fair enough. So, sounds good. Thanks.
It's all good. All good. Awesome. All right. One more.
For frontline workers, it would be really helpful from our organization. That's what they're asking for, the ability of sending some of this via text message as well.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear.
I know that opens up a whole new can of worms, but you know, just something that everyone keeps asking about.
Yeah, and it's great to hear. So I appreciate the feedback as well. Yeah, because frontline workers, like, we think there's a great solution, obviously, with Teams and all other pieces there. But yes, if texting is still a thing, I totally get it. So yeah, that's great. Okay, thank you. I appreciate the feedback as well. Yeah, it's great. Awesome. Okay. All right, thank you again, folks. I really appreciate the questions. Woo, you're great. Thank you.